The WNBA and the WNBA Players Association, which includes Caitlin Clark, are meeting in person to negotiate a CBA. Our league is at a critical juncture. Things are looking bleak now. The WNBA appears to be getting ready for a lockout. Down the road, it just keeps kicking this can. Your current group of athletes is prepared for a lockout. The Caitlin Clark card is what they're using. The leverage is with her. The players don't. She does. The one who moves the needle is Caitlin Garr. A dramatic collapse of the WNBA is imminent. Negotiations for the CBA have failed. The level of tension is increasing. The WNBA has decided to withdraw from the present CBA. Players are now getting ready to attack because things have not been looking very well. October marks the expiration of the current CBA. There will be a work stoppage if the issue is not fixed. In the middle of it, the rookie who is carrying the league on her shoulders is Caitlin Clark. She attended the conference and refused to back down. Caitlin Clark's popularity, needle movement, and assistance in landing a huge media rights contract. However, she was unable to halt what was about to happen. Please leave a 100% in the comments section right now if you support Caitlin Clark and think she deserves better. With Caitlin Clark, the star power that she is, you're killing it. Officially. The WNBA is in crisis over its most significant negotiation in years. They have until October 31st to reach a new CBA, work stoppage, or elite. The negotiations between players and league authorities have reached a standstill just months before the league's deadline of October 31st. The WNBPA's decision to withdraw from the present CBA might have disastrous repercussions. Less than 4 months remain until the present collective bargaining agreements of the WNBA and its players expire on October 31st. The collective bargaining agreement is the central point of contention. The agreement that sets rules for everything, from roster numbers to travel requirements to player compensation and revenue share. The WNBA made a lot of proposals. When the WNBA ultimately made a counteroffer, numerous players expressed their strong disapproval of it because to its established salary cap system. The players have expressed their desire for a game-changing contract for months. Real structural improvements that reflect the league's rapid growth, not merely minor hiccups or ambiguous promises. They don't have a ridiculous list of expectations. In actuality, they sound more like fundamental justice. A new revenue sharing model that allows them to receive a genuine portion of the money they contribute to is what the players want. Guaranteed. Charter flights and raises in all wages are major points of contention for a league where athletes continue to fly commercial. Enlarged rosters, pay, and revenue sharing. In light of the league's recent media rights agreement and increased revenue share, players are demanding better compensation. I do see some validity in the guaranteed charter trip roster size and developing slots to prevent burnout and overuse injuries. But that probably implies they are earning something from their jersey sales, because they don't get paid a dime from anything that has their names on it. However, the WNBA replied with what players are calling a slap in the face rather than reaching a compromise. We can concentrate on our union players. To be honest, the league's suggestion was a slap in the face. Counter-proposal was given too. The players last month that did not impress them. In their counter-proposal, the league proposed a set salary cap structure. They want a soft wage cap, greater benefits, higher compensation, and a better revenue sharing plan. That is in keeping up with the league's rapidly increasing revenue. Nearly all of the fundamental issues raised by the players were not addressed. Things became serious at that point. All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis brought together more than 40 athletes, including veterans, team representatives, and all-stars. The WNBA CBA talks are approaching as a subjective discussion as well. An important gathering for a historic in-person encounter took place. The biggest attendance at a CBA negotiation ever recorded by the Players Union. It's possible that the most significant name in the room wasn't that of a committee leader or veteran. Caitlin Clark was the one. Caitlin Clark was among many of the players present. Beaver star Caitlin Clark is among the players who have stated that they will be present for the meeting on Thursday. Caitlin Clark is taking the initiative. She will play a part in the CBA negotiations. Who was in the room is known to us. There was a Caitlin. The chamber contained Angel. We will talk about that. Caitlin attended the meeting even though she was a rookie and not a team representative. Caitlin Clark was asked to attend the meeting, and she did so today in Indianapolis. She was not required to. She knew the stakes, though. She stated, "I'm looking forward to these meetings and being in them. It's a very important time for our league and where it's going to grow." She was aware that her presence may have an impact even in the absence of a vote. Attending the meetings was crucial to her. It's only her second season, yet she isn't a team representative. However, no progress was made despite the presence of the most well-known figure in women's basketball. The anticipated 45-minute duration of the talks was exceeded. In actuality, the meeting lasted far longer than anticipated. Players continued to leave feeling insulted and frustrated. In their subsequent statement, the Players Association didn't mince words. The business is booming, but shortchanging the working women who make this possible stalls growth, they said, adding that the WNBA's response does not address the priorities we voiced from the day we opted out. And that booming business is no exaggeration. Media rights, attendance, ticket sales, and team valuations are all up. For the first time ever, a WNBA strike or lockout is a real possibility. The last time negotiations stalled like this was in 2003, and even then, it only delayed the draft. Now we're talking about the entire season being at risk, and the deadline is drawing near. The players still feel left behind as expansion teams enter the league with $250 million ownership bids. And new TV deals are reportedly worth $2 billion. We will not stop until we achieve the transformational CBA. This moment. Demand. Let's be honest, this moment wouldn't even exist without Caitlin Clark, but she's already being asked to clean. The hard stop is October 31st. If a deal isn't reached by then, players may walk, games may be canceled, and expansion plans may fall apart. Players are preparing for a possible work stoppage as negotiations have gone slowly, as a result of the league's recent proposal, which resembled a similar revenue-sharing system included in the current CBA. This business is booming. Media rights. Ratings. Revenue, team valuations, expansion fees, attendance, and ticket sales are all up in historic fashion. The league had all the momentum. The players showed up. Caitlin stepped up. But the league, they dropped the ball in the WNBA's struggle for survival. However, one thing is becoming very evident. Caitlin Clark is no longer just a player. She is the league's most powerful voice, biggest bargaining chip, and last hope for genuine change. Let's face it, the business of women's basketball changed the moment Caitlin Clark stepped onto a WNBA court. She didn't just bring her jump shot and highlight reel passes. She regular WNBA game might have attracted 400,000 viewers prior to Caitlin Clark's arrival, but one of her games on ION set an all-time record with 1.5 million viewers. We can't lie, I wouldn't be here creating these videos. Caitlin Clark has brought us all to this point right now. Whether we are avid viewers or avid consumers of the product, and that's a good thing. She's a rookie, but she's already outselling the league in jersey sales, selling out arenas in almost every city she visits, and thanks to her social media presence and her All-American legacy, she's the most influential player in the sport, not just in the WNBA, but in the entire sports world. With 1.5 million viewers, I believe it was around 400,000 when the season began last year. Even media insiders are openly stating that the WNBA is playing the Caitlin Clark role. Despite this, she is entering negotiations as an unofficial guest and a second-tier player who wasn't even expected to be there. But she showed up because she knows something that perhaps the league itself is finding difficult to acknowledge. Without Caitlin Clark, there is no boom. And without Caitlin Clark, this deal falls apart. They're playing the Caitlin Clark card, adding the Caitlin Clark trump card. They didn't want her at the table. They didn't want her to take the lead, but now they need her. They probably don't want Caitlin Clark there, but they know they need it. As if they know that she's probably their best chance of avoiding a knockout. Much like a team in crisis brings in their superstar to save the game. We have much more negotiating power if you end up being there. And it's not just about fame, it's about leverage. Although many players in the league have passion, grit, and elite skill, the majority of them lack financial or media leverage. The Players Association knows Caitlin is their Charizard. She wasn't their first choice, possibly not even their second. But when all other options have failed, they're finally calling her number because she's the only one who makes the difference. The players don't have the same leverage as Caitlin, but she does. Her games sell. Her face makes headlines, and her presence makes everything better. This isn't just conjecture, it's evidence. The league recently landed the biggest media rights deal in its history, worth $2.2 billion. Adam Silver gave you that rights deal because Caitlin Clark showed up. Let's not sugarcoat it, it wasn't a sudden spike in general interest. It was Caitlin Clark. She's the reason why networks are suddenly willing to pay top dollar, which doesn't help the owners. And she's the reason why team valuations are exploding. Who do you think I made that possible? Key media rights? Let's be honest, even though Caitlin was injured during All-Star Weekend, she still had the attention of the crowd. She wasn't playing, but she still drew camera flashes, and her replacement was honored as a symbolic gesture. And when she stood in that CBA meeting, silent but present, the message was clear. I might be new here, but I'm not blind. The irony is brutal. The league that made money off of Caitlin's rise. That put her name on every ticket, every highlight reel, and every marketing banner. It's now refusing to support a proposal that gives players like her the pay and conditions they deserve. And Caitlin isn't even fighting for herself. It's already set. And I'm not going to sit back while this league fumbles its future. But the league is still losing money. So what profit are we talking about? Caitlin Clark is utilizing her platform and power not only to shine, but also to protect everyone around her. And that's what separates stars from legends. She's already a millionaire thanks to endorsements from Nike, State Farm, and Gatorade. But she's showing up to fight for the entire league. That's leadership. That's why her teammates respect her. Veterans rely on her. And fans remain loyal because they see the truth. She's not on the committee. She's not an executive. She's not a union representative. But she's the lifeblood of the league. Caitlin Clark should have been involved in all of these discussions from the beginning. And if the WNBA wants to weather this storm, they had better act quickly. She's not just carrying the fever, she's carrying the WNBA, and her voice might be the only one strong enough to change the momentum in this negotiation. It doesn't look like smooth sailing for these meetings. What began as routine CBA negotiations has turned into a league-wide standoff with emotions high, the future uncertain, and the clock ticking loudly toward an October 31st deadline. The WNBA is now facing a labor crisis unlike anything it has ever experienced. Players have been discussing a possible lockout. Let's break it down. The players have stated that they are prepared to walk out if no new collective bargaining agreement is signed by the deadline. If that doesn't happen, there will be a work stoppage in which the WNBA players simply stop playing. We're talking about a league-wide strike that could occur during or right after the playoffs. And if that occurs, the WNBA could cancel games, put off plans for expansion, and risk losing everything it has worked so hard to build over the last 2 seasons. How did it get to this point? You might wonder. The answer is straightforward. Players are fed up with being underpaid while revenues soar. Fed up with flying commercial while the league pocketed millions from the media. Fed up with being expected to perform at the highest levels while being denied basic professional standards, and fed up with Caitlin Clark at the center of this storm. She didn't start this crisis or ask to be the face of a labor revolution. But now she's a part of it, and possibly the only person who can tip the scales. The seriousness of this situation cannot be overstated. While Courtney Williams was present at the last negotiation meeting, she appeared to be quite overwhelmed and shaken when she left. In other words, Courtney Williams had just left the CBA. Meeting a bro that CV is so much information. Bro, you're good, buddy. Thank you for representing us. I really wanted to go, but I had to hold it down first. Yes, you had to hold down the stream. But just being there, oh my goodness, bro, was like so much that came into play. I had to go get my energy back and get excited for the weekend again because exactly, it wasn't due to a contentious argument, but rather to the fact that there is still a huge disparity between what players need and what the league is providing. Expanded rosters and protected developmental spots to prevent injuries and overwork. Higher salary caps and flexibility to allow teams to fairly compensate their stars. And real revenue sharing tied to the thriving business they're helping create. The league, on the other hand, is sticking to a fixed salary cap model and offering meager raises that don't match the players' demands, explosion in TV rights, team valuations, or ticket sales. The contradiction is that the WNBA recently signed a $2.2 billion media deal, and expansion teams are investing $250 million each. The new ownership groups in Cleveland, Detroit, and Philadelphia have paid $250 million in expansion fees. And the league has signed a new 11-year media rights deal worth $2 billion. While viewership has increased by more than 200% in key markets, many players are still making less than Caitlin Clark is the face of that boom. The WNBA Players Association met in person for CBA negotiations, and many players were present, including Caitlin Clark. The union's message is loud. The business is booming. But the working women building it are still being shortchanged. This is beginning to look grim. And they're playing the Caitlin Clark card. It appears that the WNBA is getting ready for a lockout, and players are preparing for a possible work stoppage. Caitlin Clark is the key player, and it just keeps going in the direction of a WNBA lockout, which is a reflection of the league's hypocrisy. She has the leverage, the players don't. It's my second year in the league, but it's also a very important time for our league and where it's going to continue. Yes, her endorsements make her millions off the court, but inside the system, she's just as underpaid as everyone else. Seats, jerseys, shopping carts, and millions of eyes on WNBA games every week. Yet, she earns a base salary of just over $76,000 a year while bringing in millions in value for her team in the league to grow. The league finally has attention. It has new fans. It has money coming in. Teams are growing and arenas are filling up. But all of that could disappear overnight if a new CBA isn't reached by October 31st. If the owners can't find a way to work through that deadline, players could strike or be locked out after a single labor stoppage. TV networks abruptly withdraw. Expansion franchises rethink their plans. Corporate sponsors leave. And the league's brittle trust with new fans is lost. And who bears the blame? Not the owners, the league office, or the executives collecting media rights checks. The players will bear the brunt of it, and Caitlin Clark, who is the most visible, will be the one who suffers the most. Which is why it is so important that she attends these meetings. There are off-season tournaments, private leagues, and brand-sponsored showcases that would gladly pay Caitlin Clark more to appear once than the WNBA pays her all year. And if she's not the loudest voice, she represents the league's future, and if that future is frustrated or disrespected, she has options the league doesn't want to discuss. These leagues are especially in Europe and Asia, where players earn significantly more money. And they can send her to Europe where she can earn as much or more. The league may be asking itself, hey, listen, what if Caitlin Clark leaves? What if she takes a season off? What would happen if she went out injured? By then, we want to make sure that Caitlin Clark is still active in the league and that you haven't exhausted her. What if the league's leader determines that the system is no longer worth defending, particularly considering that Caitlin Clark had been hurt 2 days prior? I believe that it was much more difficult for the players to enter and have a lot of power. Let's face it, that would be disastrous. The WNBA wouldn't survive a labor strike without Caitlin Clark. This isn't a slight to the other players in the league. Rather, it's a reality check because Caitlin is more than just a rising star. She's the reason why millions of casual fans suddenly care. She's the reason why media outlets are running stories and showcasing highlights. And jersey sales, despite everything, the league still hasn't come up with a deal that the players believe in. One quote perfectly captures this situation. "The only thing more unsustainable than the current system is pretending it can go on forever." There is still only one player that is the draw. One player. That is it. She probably ought to be the player that is in the player negotiations leading it. The league and teams have been told exactly why their proposal falls so short, and we will not stop until we achieve the transformational CBA this moment demands. This business is booming, and we will not stop until we achieve the transformational CBA that delivers our rightful share of business that we've built. Improving working conditions and ensuring the success we create lifts both today's players and the generation that follows. Even though Caitlin Clark is powerful, she cannot save this league and its players alone if nothing changes. Nevertheless, she is trying, showing up, speaking up, and standing with her fellow players not because it's easy, but because it's right. This is the time. Strike or no strike. Lockout or agreement. What happens next will determine the WNBA's future, and Caitlin Clark is right in the middle of it. The WNBA is under more pressure than ever before, with negotiations breaking down and a strike imminent. And the league's most prominent player, the reason it's in the news, standing in the middle of it all, attempting to keep the system from collapsing. The league can't continue this, and it will fail. It's time for the league to do its part, because if the WNBA doesn't start listening, they waste this moment, they'll lose players, they'll lose fans, they'll lose momentum, and maybe, just maybe, they'll lose. Caitlin Clark didn't start this crisis, but she's fighting like crazy to fix it, not just for herself, but for every player who's ever flown commercial to a back-to-back game, for every rookie trying to make a roster, and for every fan who finally began to believe this league could become something bigger. We're with you 100% CC. Thus, the question isn't whether the player will strike, but rather whether the league will wake up before it's too late. If you think Caitlin Clark deserves better, stand with the players. And if you want to see the WNBA rise, not fall, then leave a 100% comment. She brings to the game so that the next generation can come out and thrive. She's just a dynamic player, just exciting to watch. Voice counts. Since history is being written today, let's make our voices heard regarding Caitlin Clark.